Thank you so much, Iman. All right, I think it's time for us to start. A very warm welcome and good morning to you all. Thank you for joining it.
Even if I am on the phone, it's going like in this room.
Yeah. Please may I request the participants to first mute themselves. Thank you so much. So I'm Bindu Grover. I'm the whole school EL coordinator at the British School, New Delhi. It's a pleasure to be over here today, and thanks to ELLSA for giving us this opportunity where we connect. And I'm very passionate about this topic, translanguaging. And what I'm going to share today is my reflective journey over the last 3 to 4 years about translanguaging and how we started not even knowing the word translanguaging at the British School and where we are today. So looking at the pictures, just think about what comes to your mind when you think about translanguaging. Like, which image do you connect the most with for translanguaging? A, B, or C? And write in the chat. So I'll wait for a couple of responses to come over so that we can, yeah. 3. So you chose 3, you chose C because. Could you complete the sentence, Petra?
Sure. Sorry.
Welcome, Parul. Okay, so I chose B because these are 2 different languages intermingled, yes, and maybe encompassing one language or protecting my heritage language. A, because it's a way of marrying languages together. 3, because it looks like healthy apple. Sometimes multilingual, the mother tongue is hidden inside it or merged very well with it. You're right, there's no right or wrong answer in it. But I want you to know, I want you to further think about, do you see a sequence in it? If you have to think about the sequence of developing or a student developing translanguaging and growing in translanguaging, do you see a sequence between A, B, and C? So what sequence do you think could it be? Yes, is it A, B, C, or B, C, A, C, A, B, C? What sequence do you see could be at the stages of translanguaging? A, B, C, okay. C, B, A. Okay, you start with merging and then you, oh, interesting, because if I look at CBA, it could be yes, maybe you start merging the languages first, and then you move from your home language and move on, the use of the target language becomes very distinct. Or BAC, the one language, the heritage language is inside, and you open up and merge with other languages. Thank you. So the growth and no distinction between both B and C. All right, so let's move ahead. Use these words from the word bank and write 2 statements about translanguaging. What do you think? You know, from your responses, you have thought about it. Now your brain, we have activated your brain. So just use these words and write 2 statements about translanguaging. In the chat, please. Welcome, Sonakshi.
Hi, Bindu. Thank you so much.
So we are writing 2 statements about translanguaging now using the words from the word bank. So translanguaging is, well done. So Query says Multilingual learners are using all their linguistic repertoire all the time. Multilinguals translanguage naturally. Translanguaging is strategic and systematic. Multilinguals translanguage naturally. Language is language, and sometimes it's just fits in. Using translanguaging is a mindset and a strategy to help students learn. Thank you so much. So I could have a few like this, you see over here. So translanguaging, as we see, language is a vehicle for the students for expression and for interacting with others and comprehending the world around them. It's beyond creativity or playfulness. And it's fundamentally critical for us as educators to help students make the cross-linguistic connections. And many children, we know, they come to us with the knowledge, with the understanding and language skills in their home languages. But what we need to do is that we need to support these dual language learners to learn to function in and across multiple languages. And that's what culturally responsive teaching is. I'm going to get culturally responsive pedagogies a lot in today because our reflective journey that I'm talking about at British School for translanguage. Please, may I request you to mute? Thank you. I'm Justine, I think you are unmuted. So if you could please mute. Thank you so much. So translanguaging, and why I'm going to bring culturally responsive buzzword along with the translanguaging buzzword is because we are dealing with students those who are linguistically diverse these days, and translanguaging is framed around the guiding principle of culturally responsive teaching. So our multilingual learners, they bring assets to us. We're not saying just an asset, but they bring assets to us. And child's home language is a central part of their identity. Look at this mirror. When we talk about identity, we're connecting it with the mirror, and we want the child to see the images, his or her image in the school. And the trans language resources, they serve as a mirror. And these resources are the opportunities to talk about their identity. So if a child sees his or her name, other resources in their home language, that's a mirror for them. And when we talk about this mirror, the translanguage resources, we also talk about the content. And we need to see these beyond visuals. We need to go deeper. We need to see the invisible, we need to bring that out and make our students feel proud of their own identity. And when I use the word mirror, I would again say it is also for the curriculum and content. Sadly, when our young learners come to us, they are more likely to lose their home languages if they are not exposed to it, if they don't see it. And it's very important for us to have that, have the languages exposed and being shown to them regularly in our classrooms. Now, many teachers at times, when we're talking about the windows. So mirror is the content and now is the window. So window acknowledges the experience they bring to us. And also when we group them, again, culturally responsive teaching, if you group them in pairs and smaller groups, that's what giving them opportunity to speak in their home languages. So that's the window to share the perspectives and look into the experiences which are different from their own. Many teachers, however, till date are concerned about the subject. Think about it. Is translanguaging still an elephant in the room for you? No one wants to talk about it. Believe you me, it was for me once. A couple of years back, there was a lot of talk about whether we should be bringing translanguaging in the system or not, whether the children should be exposed to translanguaging or should be just focused on the target language. When we talked to our students about the languages, when we started using translanguaging for them, and we took their reflection, but for them, it was just like a river. So languages are flowing rivers where ideas flow freely, and the rivers subsume whatever comes on the way and makes it its own. It's visible versus invisible. So that's very, very important for us as teachers to see that invisible, be able to spot it. Now, when we are talking about engaging students, it's very, very important for us to understand as educators that translanguaging is not a blanket support. It is not just a crutch that you just emergent bilinguals that are there with you. They have come to the school, new joiners, and give them the support. No, it doesn't work like this. Our responsibility is to help them build those academic mindsets and be the warm demanders based on personalization. What do they require? So let's take this exemplar from a child who writes, who has come from an Arabic background. So if you see the script for this child, the direction of the script is also opposite. So here we go. So from left to right, it's now right to left for him. So clearly the word order you can see is same. It's just going in the same, if you go by the color coding, it's going in the same direction. But yes, there are some words which are missing. The determiners, he said it's a letter at time, or word like here, they would not write. So as a teacher, now I know when I'm working, when I say, okay, I set targets for this child, I need to keep in mind that this child will have the word order correct, but there are some missing words. So I need to plug in those gaps. Now think about this student. Apart from having the phrases and not the separate words for the auxiliary verbs and the determiners, even the word order goes a little different. So the verb goes in the end, and this is how we say it. So if you see this child, and there are some words missing. So if you see this child saying, he's certainly party coming. So there's nothing wrong because the child speaks this word order matches with the child's first language. So when you as teachers personalize the language learning for them, we need to understand that what kind of support is required. Another question that comes on is, how much is too much? That, will there ever be overdependence on translanguaging? I would say no. If you see this exemplar, this is a student who has now moved ahead. He is somewhere at VIDA level 3.5. So now he knows what is required for translanguaging. He just requires support for tier 2 to 3 vocabulary words, 2 and 3 vocabulary words. It's not that he is going to translanguage word by word. So the students adapt to the situation. And when you as teachers and we as teachers are integrating translanguaging, we have to be mindful of the context and the purpose in selecting what features, what strategies you're using when you are trying to support as well as challenge the students. That's very important. I'll go by this phrase, support and challenge them simultaneously. And I just talked about, when we are talking about these students and the strategies that we use, it's not mere translation. At times, the world sees is as just translation. Okay, we are giving them the home language and just work on it, and there's no depth seen in it. It's not like that. So translanguaging is not just translation, it's making the invisible visible. When we consider translanguaging as a support, we need to think of long-term sustainable strategies that we are going to talk about. And the teacher, as a teacher, you should have that lens where you can bring that invisible contributions out of translanguaging, and you can have you can see what translations bring to children. And all these exemplars that I'm showing, these are expressed by the students when we ask them, how do you feel when we use translanguaging with you? So this Korean student could see the reflection of his letters and the letters in English, and you can see the overlaps over there. So the strategies that we're going to talk about today, there are 3 strategies. So there are many strategies, so I've just chosen 3 for today. So brainstorming cluster, annotate, and visual literacy. So clearly, you have to choose according to the students what is required and how do you make them use translanguaging for different curriculum areas or different content. So your content and the purpose, the product will decide what strategy would you use. So the first one is the brainstorming cluster. So over here, the student needs to be supported. We had to write a travel brochure. So we were brainstorming what are the words the child knows about travel and for his favorite destination. Of course, he could just write in English actually because he wanted to go to Italy and place. He was given an option to write as much as he would like the WH questions or what he wants to know about Italy and how could we help him out, for the further research. And this was what we got from him. He wants to know all this. So what we did after that is we used the Google Camera app, which immediately translated the transcript, the child's written transcript into English. So if you see, he wants to know about the religion over there. He wants to know about the culture. He wants to know why is it a famous place or different places over there. He wants to know the food. He wants to know the rules. Are there any specific rules over there? How can he call back home how to communicate, the language spoken, and here is written university because he wants to go and study over there once he grows up. So that's brainstorming cluster that could be used with the emergent bilinguals when they do not have much vocabulary to express themselves in English. Then the next one is annotate. So annotation, this was used so when we are using translanguaging, I would again come back to that question, how much is too much? Because that's what teachers ask about. So when annotation, supposedly this was done for the brochure, and we talked about the elements of the brochure. The child was shown, he wrote in both English and he translanguaged in his home language, the features of a brochure. So after the explanation, everything is done. And the next lesson, when he entered, his entry ticket was to write these words as assessment for learning in the English language. So as you can see, when we put it all together, it's not one blanket strategy. It's not that just give the dictionaries or the translation in hand. There are certain strategies which you need to think about based on the needs of your students and what would they require. The final strategy is visual literacy. Visual literacy has been extremely helpful for us, having the color chunking for word classes. If you see here, yeah. So now because we use it across the school for our English language learners and the multilingual learners, so they know that a noun would be blue and verb is red when we are writing it. And that's really, really helpful for us and for the students to understand. And yes, getting the visuals along with the home language, that's important. And when we know about all the individual language needs, we then can use maybe substitution tables to help students construct the correct language structures. And remember, all these strategies are interrelated. They cannot be, segregated or put aside from each other. They just build on one into another, and they are required to build on the bilingual identities of our students. An important one for us after this is tools. What tools do we use? So the first one, which is very close to my heart, and the recent one is Translingual. So if you have ever tried, okay, I'm sharing the translanguaging codes with you as of now. So in the chat, yes, it's for parts of speech. So these are different, I'll share the presentation with you, Petra. Yes, we use different parts of colors for different parts of speech across the school for our students so that they get to know even when they are in the class and when we are doing it. Just a second, please. I'm just sharing my, yeah. Okay. If you could please open the spreadsheet now, I'm just showing it over here. So these are the Google codes. You can access it. Anyone with the link can access it. If I'm saying writing over here. It's a pleasure.
Bindu, you have to make it public for all of us.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Okay. You all are anyone with the link? Yes. So you can make a copy of this for yourself. If I'm writing, it's a pleasure to have you here today. So it immediately translates for me in different languages. You can try writing in column A if you want to try for yourself. Thank you. Right, so you can make a copy of it. You can add more codes from Google. These are easily available. So just try that, explore with your students. When we are in the classrooms, you know, it's very at times difficult for us to support all the students at one time. So using this Google codes is very, very helpful. Two-lingual, if you would have tried, this helps you create all the research in 2 languages at one time. So you can choose, again, this is a free tool from Google. So I'm just opening it over here. I researched with my student for climate change. And if you see, we can see on both the ends, and I know what topic or what website is it choosing. So I'm adding the link, this link also in the chat for you to just have a look. Sage, I hope you've got an access now.
I just translated, I am amazed. I cannot believe this. This is like the best thing I've ever seen. Wow.
Yeah, and if you want more codes to be added, just drop in a message, say it, and I'll add more codes, and you can then make a copy. Otherwise, adding codes is not a difficult thing. You can just do it yourself too. So this is two-lingual. That's helpful. And another one is very simple, which you would have, I hope you have all realized that Google has now this link for websites. It translates your websites directly. So just click over here, and even if I go for any website, you know, if you're going for www.Times of India, let's see if it does it. Yeah. So just paste the link over there. So it's very easy when we are in the classrooms for integrated support for topic lessons and humanities. So we can quickly open the website. At times, children are using bite size, BBC bite size. So it's easy for us. So if you see here, I've just chosen Korean. Let's see if it's taking a couple of minutes to maybe load because of my internet connectivity. You can try it for yourself on your laptops. Just go to Google.
Can you repeat how you got there? How did you get there?
I just opened Google Translate. I went to websites. Can you see website? Just open Google Translate, the main page of Google Translate. And
okay.
Here, have you got it? And I've chosen the language Korean. It's just my internet, which is a little slow. So the main Google page, the Google Translate page, has this inbuilt for websites now. So just go for that. I'll come back to this if it permits me, because my internet is a little shaky at this point of time. So you can try one of these tools, either Lingual, Google Translate, or the Google codes. And the final one, which is a paid one, is course Widget Online. You have to pay for that. That's what we use for visual literacy generally. So that changes the text into pictures. So that's a paid one. So I'm coming back to spotting the spaces, because that's very, very important for us. I have got just 5 minutes to do left with me, and I want to share how do we make this visible? How is that environment visible in the school where people can see, children can see, because we're again saying these are the mirrors. Whatever is displayed is the mirror for us. We believe that students' identity is reflected in the school environment. The school's ecology has a lot to do with that. Yeah, I'll have to maybe turn off some of the tabs, because my internet is going shaky because of it, because I've opened quite a number of tabs I'm just going to close a few. All right, so when we're talking about the spaces, it's very important that the school it serves as a mirror. Our own building, the premises, serves as a mirror, and we have to be like, if it's when I talk about our own school, our library, it will have a number of multilingual books over there. Our spaces in the classrooms, the humanities, for maths, for science, there are multilingual walls in the classroom for students, and culturally responsive and relevant books which are very relevant for the multilingual learners. They are also available in the classrooms as well as in the EL room. And a school has been very kind with us to give us opportunities to utilize what the resources we have and how we can use it. So one of the proposals from our SAP this time was that we would like to have each student get one bilingual dictionary being given to them, so that they can use it in the exam situation. And the school has very kindly agreed to it. We would now be in the next session issuing the bilingual dictionaries to each multilingual student, so that they get into, they use it more effectively. And it's not only at the exam time that it happens. So it is other ways also, so they always have it. And because I know my internet is a little shaky, I cannot see if you can see what I want to show, but I would like to end with that our journey when it comes to how we started at a minimalistic stage, that is minimization. I'm going to share the presentation with you, because this is a little, I can't see what I really want to show. So we adopted the Milton scale to measure where we stand today in terms of translanguaging, to effectively integrate culturally responsive strategies in the fabric of our school. And we began by wondering, that what is this strategy for? Who is it meant for? Is it only for EL lessons? And we started from there. Just the new absolute beginners and new joiners were the ones, those who we worked with for translanguaging. We got engaged in a lot of school action research projects year after year. And that was the time we moved ahead, and we engaged with mainstream teachers for the SAP projects. We brought them on the table for us. If you see here, I hope you can see it now. So this is where we started at the minimization stage. It was only for EL students. Then we came on to the stage where it was, we've got the mainstream teachers, and now we are at the adaptation stage. We have just 10 of us finished a SAP project, and we have tried to find out, how culturally responsive pedagogies are linked with translanguaging. Long way to go. Still, all stakeholders consider translanguaging as a culturally responsive pedagogy for us, and where we can integrate and challenge our students completely. So that's all from me. I'm sorry for the glitch in the end for the internet, regarding the internet from my end, because I can't, I couldn't show you what I really wanted to towards the end. So I just want to show in for the last 30 seconds if we can, as we moving ahead. Yeah. So that's, think about it. Are there hindrances in your school system that do not allow translanguaging? And as an exit ticket, if you could write that in the chat, what are those hindrances that come on your way when it is to it is to integrate translanguaging in your school system? So could you please write that in the chat, and that would be our exit ticket.
I might be coming from a different context, which is higher education.
Yeah.
And I think in my context, the school or the university teachers are heavily affected by ideas like monolingualism and native speakerism. They think the best way to teach English is by using the English only policy, and that the best way to learn English is to use the standard English, as you know. So I think by implementing translanguaging in this context, we are challenging a lot of ideas and a lot of ideologies.
Yeah, first of all, there are two things. One, as you would have heard a number of times today, the native speaker is dead. There's nothing like native speaker anymore. And second thing, which is very important, is how can we teach a student, be it elementary or high level, without taking their identity and prior knowledge and background into account. So that's very, very important, that we take that into account. And translanguaging, if used, you will see that how children make those connections. They are the ones, those who learn from you have to build that academic mindset. Where will the academic mindset come from? When you will be the warm demander from them, you will help them see those connections, and they are going to thrive in that situation. So that's the journey we are talking about, how we moved ahead, and this is where we are today. So think about it. Where are you today? When I can understand, where from higher studies, it's coming at the minimization stage, but there's a long way to go. And maybe when you leave from here today and can bring it up and talk about it, and have a group of colleagues, bring your allies together and work on it. Right. Thank you so much. And thank you, ELLSA, for this lovely opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bindu?
Bindu. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so excited about the Google Sheet with the translanguaging codes. Can you help me to get Vietnamese, or teach me how to do